session of Metamorphosis Media Conference. This session will be by Professor V.K. Lal. To welcome our guest speaker for this session, I would like to call upon our conference co-convener, Dr. Prachi.
Thank you, Arya, and welcome to you all for making yourself available on day 2, the concluding day of Metamorphosis Mediating the New Normal, Interdisciplinary Media Research Conference. I would once again like to thank our people, the dignitaries on the dais who are here to make this session worthwhile. I further take this immense pleasure in being able to introduce you to an eminent media personality, Professor V.K. Lal, former head of PG Department of Sociology, Patna University. Retiring from his affiliate, Professor Lal contributed through teaching and research for 38 long years. Besides that, he has successfully guided 19 PhD scholars. He also had been a guest faculty at the Assam Administrative Staff College. On top of that, he is a subject matter expert and member of the board of Bihar Public Service Commission. He is a regular speaker on various contemporary issues at radio and television channels and is a member of Film Screening Committee at Doordarshan Patna. Talking of his present post-retirement engagements, he mentors UPSC aspirants at RIIM Academy, Pune. He is actively involved with Directorate of Distance Education and is a visiting professor at National Institute of Design, Central University Gaya, and Ranchi University. We are indeed honored to have a stellar personality like yours, sir. Thank you for being on board, sir. I now request Vaibhav Thakre sir, to felicitate our guest for the day. I request our HOD, Professor Akshay Upadhyay, to felicitate our guest for the day. Thank you, Akshay sir. Now, I would like to hand over the stage to our dignified Professor V.K. Lal for engaging with our audience on the topic Media Discourse and Perspectives on Social Concern. Sir, over to you, please. Sir, it's a 1-hour session, which will be having 15 minutes of Q&A at least.
Good morning. Is it working? Yeah. Is it working? Yeah. So, at the very outset, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, the teaching and non-teaching staff of this august Vishwakarma University in general, and Dr. Professor Prachi in particular. Virtually, she contacted me to deliver a lecture in your conference. But the field of media is as new for me as this city of Pune. I was never a student of journalism and mass communication, and I shifted to Pune only a year back. So both the fields are new for me. I was a student of sociology. I was the teacher of sociology, head of the Department of Sociology, Patna University. So I would like to interact with you, keeping sociological perspective in my mind. The topic is media discourse and perspectives on social concern. As all of know, that when we talk about media, we do not refer to the traditional medias that were the theater, Nautanki, Natak, though they were powerful media in their own right. But today we are referring to the mass media, which includes print media, electronic media, and social media. All the three, they are called the mass media. Now, mass media is the reflection of our society and depicts what and how society works. Media, say mass media, when I say media, I mean mass media. Mass media plays an important role in our everyday life. We stay up to date with the news, views, what media gives us. So, media is important. Even in a democratic setup, media is known as the fourth estate. It is the watchdog of the society or nation as a whole. Actually, we see that media acts as a bridge between the government and the people. It brings governmental programs, policies to the people, and in turn gives back to the government about people's reactions, responses to the various programs and policies adopted by the government. So, media acts as a bridge between the two. You will find that our Constitution gives us freedom of expression. In our Constitution, under Article 19, there is a provision of free, independent, and fearless media. So, our Constitution guarantees both the journalists and the general public to take part in the national activities, and we are enjoying that freedom of speech and expression. Now, what is the role of a journalist? What does he want? You will find any journalist who want to write an article, what is there in his mind? The basic motive is whatever he is writing must be read or viewed by the general public. Not only reading, rather they should also understand what has been written for them, and finally to get back the reactions, the responses. So, to read, to understand, and to react. These are the three motives, and for that a journalist should know how society works, how communities functions, why certain people react or behave in certain ways, and how culture determines our choices. So, for any journalist, for any media person, it is essential to know the society and culture. And for that, they must have a basic knowledge of sociology. Basic knowledge, because sociology deals with the society and culture. So, from the concept of designing communication to communicate and to get back the reaction, here comes the role of sociology for media persons, for journalists. Now, come back to media discourse. What is media discourse and how it goes on? You will find in sociology we have a term, social interaction. Social interaction. Social interaction means when one takes the account of the other. If I am asking something to you and you are giving me a reply, that means interaction has taken place between you and me. So, the term was social interaction, which is the basis of our social life. But in 20th century, there was a French philosopher and sociologist who gave the theory of discourse. His name was Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault. He gave the concept of discourse, theory of discourse, and he completely negated the meta-narratives. And therefrom, we talk about discourse in sociology. So discourse is a catchy word for social interaction. Discourse is a new term, and in sociology, we discuss about women discourse, Dalit discourse. Therefrom, I have taken the term media discourse. Therefrom, I have taken the term media discourse. So, what is media discourse? Media discourse encompasses all the debates, discussions, narratives presented before us by various forms of media on any social concern, on any social issue, whatever is being debated, whatever is being narrated, whatever is being presented before us by the media is called media discourse. Like when we say women discourse means all the discussions and debates are centering around the women, talking about the women. When we say Dalit discourse, that means all the debates, discussions are centering around the Dalit. So media discourse means all those debates, discussions, narrations presented by various media forms before us. So media discourse refers to how the issues are framed, how the issues are interpreted, and how the issues are communicated to the general public. So it is just a process through which through a broadcast platform, the discourse is oriented towards a non-present audience. Here, contact and communication is both indirect, not direct. Whatever we watch on the TV, whatever we read in the newspapers, so we are not in direct contact with the person who has written this or who has prepared it. Rather, the contact is indirect. But they are giving us those views and we react to them. This is called discourse. Discourse means narration is one way and discourse is two ways. So media discourse means all that are happening in the media presented by different forms of media before public, before we people. You will find media discourse is not always the same. It varies from time to time. It varies from place to place, say country to country. We take the example of our own society. During the British period, when freedom struggle was on, we were fighting for the freedom of our nation. What was the media discourse? What was the subject? The topic of media discourse was the events of our freedom struggle, say in a broader sense, the politics. What our political leaders were doing at that time, that was the main theme being discussed in the media. At that time, that was only print media. So that was discussed. And many of our political leaders were as well as journalists, like Mahatma Gandhi, like Bal Gangadhar Tilak. They were political leaders as well as they were journalists. They were writing articles and presenting them before the general message. So during the period of freedom struggle, the main theme of discourse was the events of our national freedom movement and, better say, the political activities. When we got independence, when we owned the freedom, what type of society did we get? from the Britishers on 15th August 1947 onwards. Our society was completely divided on the basis of caste and religion. Society was totally divided. So socially we were divided. Economically we were torn. The Britishers had virtually looted us and sucked us completely. So economically we were torn. Psychologically we were depressed because we were the subjects of the Britishers. Now, just we have, after independence, we had become a citizen. And culturally we were backward, as described by the Britishers. So socially, culturally, psychologically, economically, we started from a scratch. Our national leaders adopted democratic form of government after independence. And they very clearly stated that democracy is not only a form of government for us, rather it is our way of life. So the media has to change the discourse after independence. What I want to suggest here is that media had to change the topic of discourse, and 4 important agenda were set by the then media. The then media. Number 1, operation of democracy. How to make democracy successful in a country which was poor. Most people were illiterate, people were not aware of their rights and duties, they were economically torn, and they had a bitter memoir of the past due to Hindu-Muslim riots at the time of independence. So the first agenda of discourse set by the then media was operation of democracy, to make people aware about the democratic values, democratic goals, the functioning of democracy. So the first agenda of media discourse at that time was how to make democracy operational. Number 2, there were challenges of development with equality and social justice. Society was based upon the principles of inequality. Inequality was inherent. So media took up it as a challenge to make people aware about the problems of challenges that we as a nation was facing at that time, and how to bring the concept of equality and social justice before the Indian masses. The third was steering change, to bring change in the society. The society which was traditional, the society which was static, the society which was virtually had not faced the modern values. It was duty of the media persons to steer the whole of the society. You will find on analysis that achieving the freedom movement was a very short goal of our freedom struggle movement. The bigger goal, the bigger achievement was that it steered the whole of India and brought all sections of India on one platform. That was the munch of national freedom movement. It was Gandhi, it was Tilak, it was Gokhale, it was all political leaders who steered the whole of India. They traveled whole India and brought people on one platform. With the women, with the Dalit, with the Muslims, with the South Indians, with the North Indians. So we started as a nation. We started, इस पर हाथ पर गया, रुक गया क्या? नहीं. We started as a nation. So the fourth agenda of media was to achieve national integration. So these were the four issues of media discourse after independence. After independence, these four topics were making around the corner in the newspapers. Till 1980s, you will find that there was print media, there was Akashvani, which is called radio, there was Doordarshan, television. They were there to connect with the people. Print media, Akashvani and Doordarshan, they were there to connect with the people. Till 1980s, and many of the critics had started saying that Akashvani and Doordarshan has become Sarkari Bhopu, trumpet, government trumpet. Whatever government wants, they just produce. Sarkari Bhopu. So this was the situation till 1980s. But with the arrival of 1990s, 1990 का दशक, new economic reforms were introduced in India, under which liberalization, privatization and globalization started. In short, we say LPG. LPG. Liberalization, privatization and globalization. So with the introduction of LPG, there came the commercialization of media. The commercialization of media started, and many critics started saying that this commercialization of media virtually deteriorated the quality of journalism. I hope you people are the students of journalism or mass media courses. Now here comes the real story. So commercialization brought tough competitions among different media houses. Several private players came. You have not seen that period, but we have seen that period during our student life. When we were students in 1960s and 70s, we were waiting for the Binaka program on every Wednesday evening, and waiting for the voice of Amin Sehani, Bhaiyon aur Behnon. We were assembling in our common room, in our hostel common room, and it was jam-packed. वेडनेसडे नाइट को 8 बजे बिनाका आता था और सब लोग खाना पीना छोड़ के बैठ जाते थे कॉमन रूम में, हॉस्टल के कॉमन रूम में. We were waiting for the whole week. Even on Doordarshan, Chitrahar was coming on Wednesday and Sunday. I was doing MPhil in Delhi School of Economics, and students were assembling together. The room was jam-packed for seeing Chitrahar. Filmy songs were telecast during that period. But what is the situation now? 24/7. If you want to watch a film, if you want to watch any song, you just click on and the song is there. You search on YouTube and everything is ready before you. So the clash of interests, competition and mad rush among the different media houses started. 200 news in 10 minutes. 200 news in 10 minutes. सबसे तेज, हम सबसे पहले आपको न्यूज दे रहे हैं. नंबर 1 चैनल All these are uttered by the media persons if you just tune on your TV set. And we get headache. On one channel it is dangal, on other channel it is mahadangal, on the other channel it is mukabla, on other channel it is aapki adalat, on another channel it is jan adalat. There is debate, discussions and no conclusion. So there is a mad race. There is a mad race among different channels to outrace the other. What for? Because of commercialization, the media has become a profit-making industry. Profit-making industry. And they are surviving only on the technique of fund management. Technique of fund management. For NGOs, do you know the NGO? Non-governmental organizations. We used to say, whenever we were going to deliver the lecture, the NGO's main role is fund lao, fund khao. Fund lao, fund khao. And what is the main purpose of media houses today? Fund lao और लोगों को गुमराह करो. So they are surviving by operating on the techniques of fund management. One estimate is there that 70% of the fund comes from advertisements. 70% of the funds come from advertisements. Only 30% revenue comes from the readers or viewers' subscriptions. Whatever we subscribe, that constitutes only 30%. So they are heavily dependent upon the government offices and the capitalist persons for getting advertisements and for getting advertisements from the government. And that's why media has become biased. That's why. Because they have to get funds. They are striving for funds. They are striving to survive only on funds which they collect through the advertisements. You will find during the early period of independence, the main role of media was to highlight the dark corners of our society and to highlight those areas where there was a miss. But gradually, this role changed and media became double-edged sword. Media became double-edged sword. On the one hand, media gives us news, informations, governmental, make us aware about governmental programs and policies. That is the positive side. That is the bright side of media. But the other side is that media is now throwing challenge to the law and order of the society by providing fake news, morphed videos, distorted news. Every day we will find that this news is fake, this news was fake. So, what is the problem? The problem is that yellow journalism has come into prevalence. Do you know about yellow journalism? We say in Hindi, Peet Patrikarta. Peet, Pila, yellow journalism. Yellow journalism is virtually the foster child of the media. It is the dark side of the media. It is the dark side of the media. yellow journalism means stooping low to the level of scandal or rumor mongering. Scandals fellow, rumor fellow. Instead of sensitization, make news sensational. This is yellow journalism. Now they make the news sensational, non-sensitive. चैन से सोना है तो जागते रहो. अरे कैसे जागते रहो, चैन से सोना है तो. See? So they make, कोई आदमी बाहर में फंसा हुआ है, अब आपको कैसा लग रहा है? अरे जो बाहर में फंसा मरा उसको कैसा लगेगा? But you are making the news sensational, not sensitive. So sensitization has come on the back seat and making sensationality. And number 3, adopting unethical, unprofessional approach towards media by accepting bribery, by taking gifts, or by getting any favor for any power that be. So किसी favor के लिए, I have heard that many media persons are on the payroll of many political parties and they are making news for them. I am just naming them, some of the important media persons of our society, but will not tell you where is media bias is. You yourself will know are they biased or not. Rajdeep Sardesai, Ravish Kumar, Sushant Sinha, Sudhir Chaudhary, Punya Prasad Vajpayee, Punya Prasun Vajpayee. They all are media persons. They are on the different news channels. Shekhar Gupta, and you listen their dispatch, their telecast, you will come to know which political party they have taken side with. I am not uttering any word about them, but you yourself judge. Listen to Ravish Kumar, listen to Arnab Goswami, you will come to know either favoring this party or favoring that party. So, yellow journalism has virtually given birth to media bias. You will find media in our country is not neither homogeneous nor a single institution. It is neither homogeneous nor a single institution. If you look at, then you will find some media houses are owned by some corporate families. The other newspaper is owned by another business tycoon. The other newspaper is under the command of another political party. What about Samna, published from Mumbai? It is the newspaper of Shiv Sena, Udhav Group. What about Panchjanya? It is owned by BJP. What about Jansatta? It is owned by Communist Party of India. Then how will you expect the objective and neutral news? If it is being controlled by a political party which has its own ideology, can you expect neutral and objective news in these newspapers? So, the newspapers are either owned by an individual or a family or a corporate group or a political party. So, it is not homogeneous. जिसकी पार्टी का जो पेपर है वो अपना आइडियोलॉजी बघार रहा है, उसको छाप रहा है. Now, not even a single institution, you will find some of the magazines are working in the field of sports, some in the field of science, some in the field of agriculture, some working in the field of women. So there is a diversity of magazines and journals. Do you know the difference between journals and magazines? No. Magazines have everything in it. Journals are purely professionals. Journal of Psychology, Journal of Biodiversity, Journal of Sociology. So journal is for a specific subject. Magazine is generally you will find sports, you will find entertainment, you will find all sorts of masalas. So you will find in our country the media is neither homogeneous nor a single institution. But the fact is that we live in the age of media, and media has a social concern. Media has a social concern. Since media is the mirror of society, so it has to be socially concerned. Now the question arises, how media selects its topic, how media picks up the issues. On analysis, we find that three important factors work. Number one, if any news, any event is burning or sensational. For example, right now, election is going in our country. So, that is the burning issue. What was the percentage of voting in first phase? What was the percentage of voting in second phase? Who is going to win? Who is going to lose? In which favor the people are? These are the media discourse today. जब भी आप टीवी खोलिए, कोई भी चैनल खोलिए, आपको यही मिलेगा. To save, one is there to save the constitution, another will come, then he will repeal the constitution. So these political issues are under discourse. Number two, one is that issue is burning or the issue is sensational. Number two, the ideological inclination of the media house. The owner of the media house is inclined which side? Which side? It is a hardcore fact that our media houses are not neutral. They are unable to provide us objective news. For taking favor, they have taken the side of either this political party or that political party. So, it depends upon the ideological inclination of the media house or the media owners. And number three, overt and covert pressure of different stockholders. For example, the government also pressurizes, the business houses and communities, we also pressurize. Itni gandi baat mat chhapo. We write letters to the editors. So these three are the important motives while selecting the topic for media discourse. But in these three, you will find what is missing. The missing is reader's choice. What we want to read, what we want to see, that is not being taken into consideration by the media persons or media houses. हमको वही सिनेमा देखना पड़ता है जो डायरेक्टर प्रोड्यूसर बना के दे देता है. और when you criticize तो कहता नहीं जनता तो यही देखना चाहती है. हम तो टॉपिक we pick up topic from the society. So जनता wants that. Either be it animal, be it Article 370. I hope you might have seen these pictures. Article 370, मैंने अभी कल ही परसों एनिमल देखा और मुझे लगा कि बनाया किस लिए है, बनाया किस लिए है, इतना वायलेंस, इतना मैडनेस ऑफ लव फॉर फादर. कुछ समय नॉर्मल डे लाइफ में हम लोग भी किसी के बाल बच्चा है, आप भी हैं, इतना मैडनेस तो नहीं होता है. अफेक्शन सबको होता है अपने माँ बाप से, लेकिन सो यू विल फाइंड we are compelled to read, we are compelled to watch whatever is being given to us by the media. So reader's choice, reader's views is absent here. And that's why there is a deficit of trust between the media and the public. Now the situation has arisen where there is a deficit of trust. According to one survey, only 38% Indians have a trust on media news, either on newspapers or on, अरे ये तो ऐसे ही छाप देता है, ये तो ऐसे ही लिख देता है, नहीं ये सच नहीं हो सकता है. Whereas in Brazil it is 56%, in Finland it is 65%, but in India it is only 38%. We read the newspapers, we watch the TV programs, but sometimes we are not ready to believe that. So there is a case of low trust, a glaring example of low trust between the media persons and. Is there any message for me? So there is a low trust. And why low trust? Because there is media bias. Because there is media bias. Media bias means when you are having a preconceived or prejudiced notion against a particular person or a family or a political party or a group. So media bias is prevalent in our society, not in our society, it is a universal phenomenon. Everywhere in the world you will find media bias. Just I am giving you an example from United States of America. मेरा बड़ा बेटा अमेरिका में रहता था, अभी तो चला आया है. तो I had gone to USA in 2019 for 5 months. I had read there. When the Hurricane Katrina came in USA, a media person took 2 photographs of 2 persons, one black and one white, collecting food from a food store. Could you get my view? A media person took photo of 2 persons, one black and one white, collecting food from a food store after hurricane. And next day in the newspaper it was published, both the photos, and नीचे black जो था उसके नीचे लिखा हुआ था looting food from a food store, and for white it was written collecting food for survival. Collecting food for survival. So white man was collecting food for survival and the black person was looting the food store. Is it not a media bias? Is there not racial feeling? What the black was doing was wrong, and what the white was doing, it was just act. क्योंकि तो भूखा है उसको लेना है. This is media bias. This is media bias. 2 important channels in USA, Fox News openly favors Republicans and CNN openly favors Democrats. So media bias is always there. Why? Because media houses have taken side of either this political party or that political party. They are getting support from this, and in our country also, I am not naming a former president of a party always make allegation about the prime minister कि ये तो इसी के लिए काम करता है, he is working for his industrial friends, कि सारा इन्होंने इसको दे दिया है. So you will find that media bias is there, but media has to show its social concern. So what are the perspectives? Prachi is showing me the time, so now I am summing up. So what are the perspectives? There are 4 perspectives of media discourse while having concern about societal issues. One is conservative, other one is liberal, third one is progressive, and fourth is mainstreaming. Could you get? Conservative, liberal, progressive, and mainstreaming. Conservative media outlets virtually blame a person for any wrongdoings. महंगाई क्यों है? तो मोदी के चलते है. बेकारी क्यों है? तो उसके माने सिंगल पर्सन इज हेल्ड रिस्पॉन्सिबल. कि यही पर्सन है, इसी के चलते है, ये हट जाएगा तो सब दूर हो जाएगा. So when a single person is held responsible, this approach is called conservative perspective of media concern, when individual is held responsible. Liberal perspective is that where they do not hold responsible to an individual, rather the system. There is something wrong with the system. There should be equality and social justice, and government should interfere to bring equality and justice. So they emphasize on the role of the government, that the government should do something for the redistribution of the wealth and resources and to bring equality and social justice in the society. So one approach is blaming an individual, the other approach is virtually concerned about the social structure. Progressive perspective is that where media outlets speak about revolutionary changes, transformative changes. They want to bring drastic change in the society. समाज को बदल डालो. So they take a big issues. Like Black Lives Matters. Have you heard this slogan? Yes, sir. Then climate change. The gay movement, supporting gay movement. So removing inequality completely from the society by changing the whole system drastically. So they talk in favor of drastic change, revolutionary changes in the society. And the fourth one is mainstreaming, where they try to strike the balance between different views. They want to present the objective, neutral news before the people by consulting different media houses, and they want solution of any problem through dialogue and discussions. So these are the various perspectives of social concern. Concludingly, I would like to say that media discourse is a powerful force. It helps us to know the problems of society. It helps us in making our building, shaping and transforming our perception about the problems on the one hand, and on the other hand, we have to be media literate. We have to be media literate. Whatever we are reading or viewing, we can't consume all these things. Our vivek should be there. Our education should help us which news I have to take, which news I have to discard. So concludingly, media discourse depends upon different factors. The fact is that media, what media does and what media fails to do affects the whole society. Media can make the society, media can break the society. We can take the help of media for social reconstruction, or media may destruct the society by making fake news, morph videos, and it has virtually damaged the life of many persons. Okay, thank you. प्राची ने घड़ी दिखा दिया तो मैंने बंद कर दिया.
So we are really thankful for the insightful session on media discourse, where you started before freedom, took us through the freedom and the LPG introduction of the policies, taking us to the commercialization of the present phase, and talking about NGOs, media houses, and ad agencies, the way they are these days creating issues, and also at times are looking at solving certain issues. Maybe that is somewhere we need a better discussion, more wisdom to be applied to that. With this, I would like to call Jessica here on stage, and we'll be passing on the mic to you, sir, so that you can address questions of the students. Those who have questions may raise their hands and ask your question, please.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful insight. I'm sure after this session, the audience have some questions. So let's start with the question and answer session. Anyone? Yeah. Quickly.
Sir,
Sir, could you please explain why the subaltern theory is never discussed in the mainstream media, and why the individuals who are marginalized in the Indian community or Indian subcontinent are never represented correctly in the mainstream media?
I couldn't get you.
Could you please explain why the subaltern theory is never,
Subaltern theory.
yeah, is never discussed in the mainstream media, and why the marginalized communities do not get the representation that they should be receiving from the Indian media?
His question is, it is working?
Yes.
His question is, why subaltern movement did not take place or was not recognized by the media in the media discourse? Is what question? What is subaltern movement? And who were owning the media? In the beginning, I have told you that Indian society was socially divided. Inequality is the fundamental principle of our society. Subaltern movement deals with the Dalits, the lower section of the society. And they were outcast, they were untouched for centuries. The Dalit movement started only in Maharashtra in the 1970s. And then the term Dalit came into preference. Before that, the term was Harijan. Before that, the term was Achut Jatiyan. So they were not allowed to receive education. They were not allowed to own property. They were not allowed to fetch water from the public well. and they were not allowed to enter into the temples and everything. So they were virtually at the lowest rung of the society, whereas media, the print media at that time was addressing only the literary
Dean Faculty of Media and Communication, Professor Chetan Kaparnis, to felicitate the luminary personalities amongst us. Sir, please. Thank you, sir. I now request our distinguished plenary speaker, Professor Urban Sinha, to enlighten the gathering with his session titled Sustainable Development, a Communication Challenge. I repeat, with his session titled Sustainable Development, a Communication Challenge. Over to you, Professor.
Can you hear me? Oh my God, yeah. Yes. My name is Arvind Sinha. And you might be tired by now listening about development. Who bloody wants development? Or if you turn it the other way, who does not want development? I just simply ask a question which I will ask you. I particularly very cautiously use the term sustainable development, which is one of your subject for discussion. But before that, I must thank Doctor, Professor, whatever, Prachi D. I don't know what D stands for. I will ask you the questions after that. And for inviting me. It's so nice that I could meet the bubbling young mind. And I'm also thankful to other professors here, and specifically Dean Chetan Bhau Kaparnis for his that gratitude. I'm touched. I'm honored. So Prachi told me about my career. Can I address you, Prachi? Maybe it's the third generation. So, yeah, because we have some connections here. So, but the other part is that why I opted or picked up the development communication or sustainable development as the topic for discussion today, because I come from an underdeveloped area. When you are part of underdeveloped area, probably you encounter it very closely. So underdeveloped area, Professor Lal was other speaker, so he will understand better the concern I have. Coming from that area, I traveled a lot. And when I say that I traveled a lot, I don't remember except one or two states where I have not traveled for work, not travel as a traveler or say tourist, no, for work, for research projects. And when I traveled, I have seen the challenges of development from a close quarter. You stay there, and we have, as part of our discipline, basic is anthropology, so when you talk about research, many people must have talked to you or taught you research. We have said that research also has a meaning when you give a little twist toward the objective. So we said it's a development communication or challenges of development, sustainable development. You have to understand it from the close quarter, you be with them, and then only you can understand what the problems are. So I really, when I say I stayed, I did field work, I coordinated field work in different parts of the country. And I was fortunate enough that immediately after my basic training, I was picked up by an organization which is known today. Today everybody knows about ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, but trust me, when I joined Indian Space Research Organization in 1974, somebody told me, he was my mentor of a long time. Last year only we lost him. He said, would you like to join ISRO? And you know, my question was, what is that ISRO, ISRO? I didn't know about it. And I'm talking of 1973. Not many people knew about ISRO. So I said, and my question was that, how much will you pay? I was a good student. So I was really good. So I was fortunate enough to join the organization which was set up by none other than Vikram Sarabhai. And if you are a student of communication, my dear, you must know what Vikram Sarabhai has contributed to the revolution of the communication in the country. Vikram Sarabhai. So I worked with that organization. By the time Vikram Sarabhai is no more. But what Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Vikram Bhai, we say in Gujarat, everybody is Bhai. So, what Vikram Bhai said, he picked up the scientific theory of Arthur Clarke, who said that if your satellite or your object is 36,000 kilometers above the above in the sky, you can transmit it easily, and that's why it became geostationary satellite. You transmit and receive it. Otherwise, the other satellites will tell you, okay, when you transmit it from here, I want to talk to her, and then message will go to her. So that's so. Sarabhai's philosophy, that was a guiding factor for me. That's why one is that I was always encountering development challenges. Second, my whole training was in development sector, and my professor with whom I studied anthropology, sir, you know, Professor L.P. Vidyarthi. With Professor Vidyarthi, I am talking of 1974 to 71, 72. I did field work with Professor Vidyarthi for 1.5 months in the Andaman and Nicobar Island, when the island was not the island you see today. It's a totally different. And I can give you only one example. You talk about Nicobar Island. There are two major cities on the Nicobar, and then major center, Port Blair and Car Nicobar. Nicobar is a Mongoloid race, white race. And in 1971, 72, none of them had any top wear, nothing. From today, when you see, everything has changed. So that time, when I came back, I wrote to Jayaprakash ji, we were very close, my father was working with him. I said, let us do something for these deprived class of tribals. JP was kind enough to refer my paper to Adim Jati Seva Sangh, and they started something. So with these background, I started thinking about it, and I read Professor Vikram Bhai's statement when he presented his paper in 1969 in UN Congress on development. He said, India should be second to none in using sophisticated technology for taking the information to those who are otherwise deprived of. I may have missed one or two words, but gist is that whatever you have, you should use it to reach to the information poor, not information rich. We have other medium of information, and that's one reason when he proposed for using satellite as a communication means. he said that no, satellite will be used for taking this television signal, which is primarily for development of the country, to the countryside. And 2,400 villages were selected from among 6 lakhs villages in the country, or that time might be 5.5 lakhs villages. 24 lakhs villages, 2,400 villages from among the backward states of the country. And I tell you, dear, those people had not seen moving picture. Villagers had not seen. Many of them had not even thought of cinema or moving picture. That was the time I'm talking of 1975, 1976, when we conducted the experiment. So Sarabhai thought that, okay, television as a means of communication should not be for the urban people first. 2,400 villages, remote villages, we received direct communication, direct television signal from the satellite before your Mumbai had, before Pune, Bangalore, Madras, that time it was Madras, sorry, it's Chennai now. But Calcutta, Lucknow, Patna, they didn't have television stations. And somebody might have talked to you about the history of communication there. There were, before satellite instructional television experiment was launched on 1st of August, 1975, there were only 4 television centers in the country. Delhi was one, you must have heard, read it. Delhi was one, second was Bombay, and 2 which you will not even think about. Which one could be the third one? Tell me, other than Bombay and Delhi. For you it will be a little difficult. Let me help you. It was Amritsar and Srinagar. No other big cities. Regions were different. So all other stations came after the satellite experiment was over. And satellite instructional television experiment proved that centralized information is possible if you are using sophisticated technology to reach to the last point. Different technology you need. You need direct reception set. And reception set installed in a remote villages where even today you will find little difficult to go. Mr. Birendas is here. Birenda will tell you how difficult it was to reach the villages of Odisha. I will tell you how difficult it was to reach to the villages of Saharsa and then say Muzaffarpur, which was all flooded. But even if you have national will, you can do it. So that's happened. It came to remote areas before it came to urban areas. So priority has to be defined, and that's a thinking. That's the vision of Sarabhai. Whole idea of television as a mechanism to take information to the people was used for a different purpose. Any of you, if you want to do your, say, master's concept paper or master's assignments and project assignment, analyze the 5-year plans of the country from 5th plan onward. All 5-year plans of the country emphasized on using communication for ... And that dot I will leave to you today. I will help you. So it was used as a vehicle for, that's what the dot is, vehicle for developing the mass. When I say mass, it's not Patna, it's not Pune, it's not Patiala, it's all villages around there. That's the mass we talk about. And mass through the information which is coming from television in the areas of education, is for information and healthy entertainment. Television was brought to the country as a mechanism of rural empowerment. through education, entertainment, and information. Today, what is the state of television in the country? How many channels do you have? Any idea? Anybody? Very difficult. How many channels? No idea. Oh, there is a term in Hindi, it's unginat. I mean, you can't even count. Who bothers with it? So, it was a technological revolution that made possible for you to take the information to the last point that we say. I have a paper, which probably, Prachi, you remind me, I will send you that clipping of paper or the photograph where, early 90s, we started thinking about doing some research. And we just enumerated the number of television stations that were installed in the country till 1992. Yes, 1992. Till that time I was a researcher. After that I became research manager. Priority changes. And I, something else. So it says that time it was a popular saying that every day we install a television station. That was a revolution. But suddenly what happens, if you see the graph, in 1 year 12, other year 16, third year say 15, fifth year say 21, and all of a sudden in 1984, the number of television sets installed in the country was 116. So 12, 15, 16, 14, and then 116. Again it came down. 50, 52, 48, 19, and suddenly there is a jump. 1989, there was a sudden jump, 221 television stations in a single year. Incidentally, my dear, just listen carefully. Incidentally, these 2 years of peak was the parliamentary election year 1984 and 1989. So if country decides, anything is possible. Country has to decide, and we will be deciding in the country. We will be sitting tomorrow as a communications manager, media house manager and that. So policy makers, when technology is there, everybody is, everybody will jump. It happens with any technology you talk about. First people say it's not possible. When you demonstrate that it's possible, then say, oh, let us see. And then when it works, then we say, so great about it. What is so great about it? So technology was there, and everybody jumped to use the technology. Policymakers took it as a technology to popularize their policies and programs. And that's how Delhi people used it. Business people, they used communication and technology, give you a power of reaching to the mass to market their products and ideas. Health personnel, they also started using technology for education, wellness, fitness, all health. And India has today India is the fifth largest market for media and entertainment. So that is a power that reaches to the people. Fifth largest in the world. Major source of television channel, you all know, I don't have to say, is the revenue they get from advertisement and say displaying their ads. That's major thing. Politicians, they started using it. And I say politician, when I say politician, right from the top, the people in the power, they used or they saw a revolution and their part, and they say, this is one information channel where if I control, I can reach the mass. So everybody saw it as a power. Politicians also started using for political gain. And today the statistics says that they spend 30% of the total election expenditure in media. Out of that 30%, 67% alone comes to television. That's the power. And everybody says, this is good, this is the power, I will use it. And what has it become? It has become, television particularly, I'm talking about, it's a information and entertainment. Information, entertainment, development is gone. Who think about development? Parties spend that money. Today television has become a business, and that it is controlled by the agenda of politics and business. That is unfortunate part which has gone haywire from the day of Sarabhai when he thought about, or the government planning commission have thought about it. That's one part which I was thinking that you should know it, you should be sensitized about it, and let us connect my discussion with the topic of today's interaction, what I was saying. What is that? Sustainable development? I mean, very fancy, very sexy word, sustainable development. I tell you the history there. Everything, sustainable development, there are 17 sustainable development goals, if you read it. And to reach where? To reach its achievement by 2030. And let me take you back to the history of development communication, challenges of sustainable development. 1987, we realized that health is a problem, national problem, international problem. So in Geneva, they all sat together and then they gave a call to the world, health by 2000. No, health for all by 2000. Health for all by 2000. Health for all by 2000 means everybody will be having a normal health. They will have all the facilities available. There will not be any, say, epidemics or pandemics, anything, by 2000. Where are we now? 2024. Have we reached that? No? Unfortunately, I also say no. Then what happened? In the name of that development, when they saw that nothing is moving, before 2000 they launched another program which is called Millennium Development Goal. Millennium Development Goal. And there were 8 goals. And that Millennium Development Goal was to be achieved by 2016. 15, 16. We are now in 2024. Where are we? And out of that 8 goals, 3 goals were only for development. Health. We are all healthy now. When we say we, means entire population of the country. Problem is up to you to decide. Third, which came sustainable development. 17 goals by 2030. Where are we now? And very few number of years are left. We have to really think about how to do it. And as a student of communication, as a manager of communication, or the conscious citizen, you have to think how to meet these targets. They say, we ourselves have to decide or define areas of sustainability and target of sustainability. Which population segment you think that should be target of sustainability? Which target? Is it 69% of population who live in 6 lakhs villages? Many of them are deprived of the basic necessities, or it's the 31% of population which lives in urban area. I don't say that all of them are equally privileged to have everything, no. Because there are slums here, and you see the pathetic condition of these people who are staying in the slum. Your target of sustainability will be 79% of geographical area or 21% of geographical area which covers the urban and so what do we say, it's a fringe area, or you have to decide. Some pockets are the entire day. Actually, there are, when I taught, and still I am teaching, so there are contradictions in Indian system. You might have heard about air ambulance. Air ambulance is there, if you can afford it. And for many people, auto rickshaw is not there available for. I mean, you must have heard somewhere on newspaper or the television that the pregnant lady was carried on shoulder for 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers to have the basic facility. So where is the sustainability and which part of sustainability you talk about? We have to really define it. There is a vast difference in urban and rural area. Magnitude of development challenges are different because of these different pockets. And I am not exaggerating, I tell you, 3 years ago, I took my guys' students, very bright students, for a field work. They were doing, 7 of them were doing PhD. I thought, let's take them to see the other part of the country. In Gujarat, I'm not talking of my own state or say Orissa or Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat. We were staying in forest area. We wanted to communicate to the city area. We had, somebody said that somebody has to climb up the tree and then only connectivity will be there. So there are media dark area, there are connectivity dark area, but who will bridge that gap? And you have to really think about. Sustainable economy development in India requires just, I quote something. Sustainability, you divide the 17 goals, it will be poverty, it will be health, it will be equality and education. These all areas are challenging, and how the challenge will be met. I respect him. He was a controversial person in McKinsey, US, but the statement, I quote his statement, I read it. What he said, sitting in the United States, sustainable economic development in India requires more than just healthy economy. It's not only the economy that will lead you to sustainable development. His second statement was that we need to ensure that the health of Indian people and advancement of our country match and march in tandem. साथ चलेंगे तब development होगा. Otherwise, what is happening? The gap is widening. It's widening. When the Planning Commission or the international organization make a plan or this think about it, they only think about the macro level, larger area. And in larger area, the small things are just forgotten. It's faded out. And we have to really think that what is the ground reality that we are talking about in terms of sustainable goals. Challenges of micro level changes. Challenges of micro level planning, implementation, and bringing change to that. And if it happens automatically, it will lead to the macro level changes. So, I will take your time in discussing some of the important areas of development, which is challenge. Population is a challenge. Health, education, environment, these are challenges. Where have we reached? I gave you only one example of this, the health. Health for all, or by even 2024. No, there are certain pockets. You have Medanta, Vedanta, and then, I mean, Ruby Hospital, I just heard Ruby Hospital, and whatever, I mean, it's all big names, Apollo, and what is there at the grassroots level? Do they have it? Or if they have the network of I would say health centers, is it functioning fully? Challenge for communication to show it to outside world, to the policy makers. Swachh Bharat, one example I can give you. Swachh Bharat, have you heard about it? Okay. India has become open defecation free country. 2007, Gujarat had become declared as open defecation free country. Go 10 kilometers from here in the rural area, what you will find there? Reality is something different. So dear, that communication is challenge. I will come back. Namami Gange, there was a project as soon as, 2004, I don't know the name, Namami Gange, cleaning Ganga. Has it been cleaned? Anybody from that area or any other, say, river for that matter? I come from a small place from here. I live in Lavasa. Lavasa lake has not been cleaned. It's a very small pocket. So Namami Ganga is gone. Ayushman Bharat. These are all big projects. 31 project has been launched by Government of India till date, and every project is being evaluated. Let us see, because reports will be only published if it suits to the requirements. And we will say, all these are challenges. What communication has to do? Can any development project be implemented without communication? Any development. I throw you another challenge. Can you not communicate? Can you not communicate? If you are smiling, you are in a happy mood. If you are just dazed, oh, what are you thinking about? If you are appreciative, you are. So everything has to be communicated, and the challenges has to be communicated, the program has to be communicated. There should be match between what you say and what you have not, what you want to people to say. So these are the challenges of communication and development. If you have to be a good communicator, there is another challenge for you. What I say is the role of communication is to inform people. That's one. Change the mindset of the people. Bring people to the level of consciousness where they start thinking about all these are challenges of communication. How much has been made to that? I little bit touch upon, which is a challenge. Media and communication. Big topic for my discussion all the time. You think it's media can change the world. I said without communication, media cannot change. What media does? Inform people. What communication does? Inform people. Where is the borderline between these two? Borderline is that there is a certain constraint of media. And unfortunately, media has become a business. Communication has not. When you are talking about 69% of the population in India, you have to use not only media, you have to use communication, because with all my level of confidence, I can tell you, in spite of all these medium that you are using, all these media that you are using, one medium or the media, you are not reaching to 100% of population. Not reaching to 100% of population. All your classmates are here. Maybe some of them have not come today, but tomorrow they will get to know that Arvind Sinha has talked something about this. How will they know about it? Any idea? Pardon? person-to-person communication that is happening. Media doesn't give you that scope or say ambience of person-to-person communication. Media gives you a vertical communication, and that has to merge with the horizontal communication which goes from people to people. And in rural area, it's more than what urban area or me and you will be thinking about. So you have to think about how judiciously you should use media and communication both for sustainable development, and development which doesn't happen just in one, but in a way that it sustains forever. So I leave this and I say it's a challenge for you. How will you do it? And if you don't do it, your future is doomed. My next generation, the third generation, they have to face it. Very good example I can tell you. But everybody today here will say, oh, it's because of, it's raining, or it's very hot, it's a sultry, and you will say, it's because of climate change. I remember in our good old days, we used to just listen, we used to read about climate change. Probably that time my generation has not given enough thought, had not been serious about it. So now, if you are not serious, what will happen? It will bounce back to you. So it's very simple. Either follow it or it's over. So my discussion is also over there. These are what I wanted to share with you, that role of media and communication together has to be very systematic, strategical, and with seriousness. If you think that still there is a scope of making it challenge, think about it, use it, or otherwise face it. Thank you all. It's a pleasure meeting you, dear. It's really a pleasure. Challenge is there, and you are there to meet the challenge, not me. Our days are gone. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful speech on the sustainable development issues that we all are surely facing and trying to address. And it was, while I was listening to it, it just felt like that history came live here with us. We could understand and identify with how it would have been, those things that we were reading about in papers and only books, the site experiment, how it would have been worked out, and what it would have been for people who were experiencing things for the first time. I am really thankful for your session. Now I invite questions from students. So those students who have any questions regarding the session, please, the floor is open for you to discuss. Prithviraj.
I'm not sure I will be able to answer all the questions, but still I will try.
Hello, sir. So my question is in regards to the bridging the gaps between sustainable communication in India. Do we think the Starlink project that was launched by SpaceX, similar kind of projects can be launched in India to bridge those gaps?
Project is a project, whether it's a large scale or miniature project. But if you are making an effort, you can make it success. Even 0.001% success will help you in escalating it. Because in communication there is a philosophy, or it's a concept of seeing is believing, and the demonstration effect of any communication will go a long way. So yes, I mean, we have to do it. There is no other way out. You may not have resources. I mean, if I say that this university or this department can work on development communication, I don't even think about the resources that ISRO had or resources the government of India had. But the resources which university can pull up, resources that university can really manage from the local administration, because they have money. They are looking for people who will use strategic communication for development. Resources are not.
So I had a question. I am really interested that as you told, while working on with ISRO, you were focusing on the rural people. So I am really curious to know the process of communication, that how did you told those people about television and what was their response? So I am really curious to know the process.
Interesting, and I told you that any communication that you launch, people will not believe it first. Oh, it's not possible. But when it is possible, then they become curious, and when you become part of life, they say, what is so great about it? So in the beginning, they didn't even believe. I give you one anecdote. I was given a team in charge for selecting villages in Bihar, my own state. I come from that state. And I was meeting the collector, head of the office in the district. So he was very interested, and then said, sir, can we have a breakfast in the evening, some snacks? I said, okay. And he was living close by. We were staying in a guest house, and his bungalow was there. So we went there, three of us. And he said, I am very much convinced about it, but in which 5-year plan it will happen? He was not sure that it will happen in 3 months' time. Which 5-year plan? I said, gentlemen, it will happen in 3 months' time. So that was that. I am talking of the collector's level. Second level, the villagers, I mean, it is documented that some of the village folks, they went behind the television to see if there is some player who is playing on that. So they didn't believe that it will happen, but when it happened, and the then Prime Minister greeted everybody, then they said, my God, it is possible. And today I say, what is so great about television? It's here in my handset.
So, one question, sir, here behind. I'm Professor Vaibhav. Sir, wanted to ask you, I mean, this is not related to the very academic environment at the moment we have with regards to conference, but just wanted to hear a story from you, sir. We had a Dr. E.V. Chitnis, ex-director of ISRO, yeah, lives in Aund. Yeah.
He was my boss. And
Yeah.
in fact, this morning I was talking to Biren.
Okay.
Biren, we should go and meet Professor.
Meet
Chitnis.
Dr. Chitnis. He must be now 90, 96,
94.
97.
Yeah,
yeah.
95.
So he was telling us, when he used to teach us, he used to tell us that at that time when the TV came, they rented few television sets for the experiment. It was site in 75, and we as India, as a country, we rented few television sets and then tried in multiple villages around Kheda. What was that situation, sir? I wanted to know. I was very excited when I was teaching history of mass media. While teach this audiovisual medium, because now we know how these audiovisual mediums actually take a hold on our sensory system. What must be the situation, socio-cultural, political situation then, and what must have happened, what kind of an impact the television must have had at that point of time. So I wanted to understand a very, because as Prachi ma'am said that it is basically we are witnessing a history. So wanted to understand it from your point of view कि क्या था लोगों का उस वक्त या फिर आपका जज्बा और क्या था उस वक्त excitement.
But I have to really go back to the history. The television was, or the satellite instruction television experiment, the 1-year experiment which Sarabhai had planned, had 3 major goals. One is the technological advancement testing, social impact testing, and the management testing. Whether it can be managed from one single point to reach to all other points possible. What is the technological advancement? So every now and then there was some technical hitch, and they maneuvered it. They did very well. Social impact was the another part which they wanted that, okay, this should be evaluated, and the UN had given that charter that this is a very big experiment. World's largest techno-social experiment, and it has to be evaluated how it has really helped the society. Kheda, Professor Chitnis was our team leader. I mean, he was next to Sarabhai. We never saw Sarabhai, but we worked with Professor Chitnis very closely. So what they have decided that, okay, it should impact the society. And there are n number of reports which says site was a grand success. My thesis was the only one probably that said that site had met with partial success. And in that Mahabharata, there is a reference about Aswasthama, Dronacharya's son. So Aswasthama, and they say that Aswasthama died, and he wanted some authentic source to say Aswasthama died. So authentic source was Duryodhana, no, who was? Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira will never tell lie. So he said, how can I say? So he said, one elephant was killed, whose name was Aswasthama. So Yudhishthira said, Aswasthama mrita naro va kunjaro. Aswasthama died. I don't know whether it was human being or an elephant. So after Aswasthama died, everybody started beating the drum, so that second part was lost. So my thesis was lost in the second part. So it cannot happen, no development can happen unless you promise your element of communication matches with the ground reality, which was, our estimate today, it's not easy to match. And if it doesn't, I have my own theory on that, process of development communication. It leads to expectations, and finally, if nothing happens, then probably it will lead to distrust. Distrust toward information and distrust toward the informer. That's the situation.
Shekhar sir.
So as a communication professional, for example, what kind of prerequisite you need to have? For example, if you want to work in a certain environment, for example, if you want to work with the women, in this case, so socio-political understanding of the society, how much is required? Because if you are going to execute or you are going to choreograph a plan or design a plan. So in this understanding of society, what kind of percentage, what kind of weightage you want to give to this? Because we have a development communication as a subject. So I was telling my student to understand the Indian society is very important, or different aspects, nuances is very important to execute a strategy.
I avoided this when I was talking to Vaibhav, because site was possible. Remember when site was launched? That was the time of site, 1976, 1977, 1975, 1976. What was the time that time? It was possible because the top boss wanted this to happen. Top boss realized the power of communication. So nothing happens in isolation. No, that's not, because half of the program was made by ISRO. What I say, you have to have the local context of your communication. Otherwise, chances are fairly low that it will be accepted. There will be anti-forces working for it. So you have to have a proper support. Socio-political environment has to be understood very precisely. Without that, things will be little different. Thank you all.
Sir,
Good.
I have a question for you.
Yes, most welcome.
So, like you were saying that a lot of times as a researcher we face these challenges. There are things that you can identify which may not be popularly discussed, or which may be something which you've identified as for the first time, and you are trying to go ahead and at least publish it, and there is a backlash over it a lot of times in collaborative projects. How do you deal with that?
simple example will be again media and communication. You don't have to talk everything openly, but your communication should be very powerful that it reaches across. When there was no media then, mass media, what is it? People were communicating to each other, and that communication should be powerful. I know what you say. It's not possible to even openly. I mean, otherwise, you will be labeled by X, by Z.
Yes.
Your papers will not be published.
True.
But if your communication is strong, at least you can communicate to her.
Okay, noted. So with this great advice, we are really grateful to have such eminent personalities from starting from Professor Chaudhary, who guided us about media convergence, then Professor V.K. Lal, where we had a media discourse discussed, and now Professor Arvind Sinha, where we took it to discussing communication challenges, especially in the sustainable development area. So we are really grateful to have you here, sir, and I would want Professor Akshay Upadhyay to come over and present a token of appreciation to you. Now I invite Professor Vaibhav Thackeray to present a vote of thanks to Arvind Sinha, sir.
Hello, am I audible? Sir, I grabbed this opportunity. I was not the one giving the vote of thanks, but I was really excited. I think I should thank Pune first of all, before thanking sir and before thanking Das sir, because Pune brought them here. Because they are in Pune and because they loved Pune, that is why they are here. So I should thank Pune first, and of course sir, with a very deep gratitude. Thank you so much for sparing time on behalf of Vishwakarma University, on behalf of the Faculty of Media and Communication, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. I really extend really great thanks to you and to also Biren Das sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Just an announcement, we'll be proceeding with the technical session 3 in a short while.